Hot take. Final Fantasy XIV Fall Guys is more fun than actual Fall Guys. Okay. Hear me out. Come on, hear me out. First off, I know. Opinion alert. The second, 14 Fall Guys lacks certain mechanics in regular Fall Guys that in regular Fall Guys can very easily sour a lobby for individual players. And that mechanic is actually the griefing mechanics that Fall Guys naturally has. And yes, it can be funny. And yes, it can be enjoyable if you're mostly playing with friends. But if you're playing with randoms and are actually like trying to practice the course or try to get used to the way the game plays, the griefing mechanics can pretty much sour any ability to try to actually play the game. Because you'll have somebody you might get unlucky and somebody decides to grab you repeatedly. Somebody decides to bump into you repeatedly. You're constantly fighting the other people behind you while the one person that knows how to play the game, knows the patterns, knows the routes, and knows the way the course works is 30 miles ahead of you. You don't even feel like you had a chance. And of course, that's, ignoring the fact that there are obstacles that players can manipulate to essentially make it impossible to even finish the course. I'm looking at you, Seesaws. Now, of course, I might hear you say, "Oh, but Mimi, what about that one guy that posted a video of him using plug-ons to see when the AoEs were?" That's a minority. Vast majority of players, especially those that are regularly winning, already figured it out long before that video was posted. There were tutorials, there were guides, there were diagrams that could easily help you learn the pattern. Even actual Fall Guys is just pattern and route memorization and pathing and learning the best way to maneuver through the course. It is got a level of skill. And Final Fantasy XIV's Fall Guys event is pure skill, pure mechanical execution. The only person who's at fault, you lose, barring exceptions, is you. And then, of course, some people say, "Oh, but what about that one time that I got hit by an AoE that I was clearly out of?" That means that you don't have a full grasp of how the relationship between what you see and what the server sees. And I know that's, some people will say, "Well, that's bad." I think it's an unavoidable situation because internet. If you want zero ping games, unfortunately, we have to play in real life. This is not really a thing. Or play with LAN. You have to play, physically in the same room of each other. And even then, there's probably like a teeny minuscule, difference between them. My point is, there's only so much they can do to mitigate it. And I think every player in 14 does owe it to themselves to learn how their visual and what the server thinks relate to each other. And it's definitely hard to learn. I won't even deny that. I know now I live in the East Coast with fiber internet. I have really good internet. I won't deny that. But I previously, and most of my raid experience is in Japan. I played from Japan playing on NA. And I had 120 MS. I played both before and after the servers were moved to California and rated both situations. And the thing is, even then, I knew when I fumbled, when I knew when I did not move correctly, when I did not commit to my movement to dodge an AoE. It was my fault. It was not my ping. It was my fault. You could say, in a way, it's partially my ping, but it's up to me, as long as my ping's not changing, to work with my ping, rather than try to fight it and say, well, it shouldn't be like this. I mean, yes, it'd be perfect if, in a perfect world, everybody has zero ping, but we're not in that world, right? We have to adjust based on our connection, and it's hard to learn. It's hard to get used to, and especially if you're on higher ping, or if you have really unstable internet. In that case, I really do feel for you, and it really sucks if you have unstable internet. I definitely had instances when I was living in Japan where the up and down speeds would absolutely tank it. I couldn't even craft, and I would be super frustrated. I couldn't even make raid food for myself. But that's an exception. That's, well, hopefully an exception for most players. Unfortunately, if you have unstable internet, maybe Fall Guys is not going to be enjoyable for you. And I understand on that case. If your connection is relatively consistent, 99% of the time, you owe it to yourself to get used to your ping. It is not changing. It doesn't change. You should know when, how, and when, and where you need to move and how you need to move to dodge things based on what you see and what you think the server sees. The times that I get hit, both when I was in Japan and since moving back to the States, the times that I would get hit, I knew it was because I didn't commit. I didn't move the right speed. I hesitated. Or I misjudged the size of the AoE. Those are totally normal things to happen, and they're gonna happen from time to time, no matter what. No matter how good I get at dodging my stuff. No matter how good I get at adjusting for my latency, I'm still gonna make a mistake every once in a while. And yeah, I'm gonna get frustrated. A little. But the thing is, even if I say, my ping, you know, deep down, I know it was my fault. I often say, I hesitated. I moved too slow. Oh my gosh, I actually made that? I thought I moved too slow. Or something like that. Or, darn it, my toe is in it. When with my toe is in it, I definitely meant I misjudged the size of the AoE by like 2 pixels or something. Getting hit by an AoE in Fall Guys, yes, there can be instances that have slightly different, what's the word? Snapshots? So, yes, that can be frustrating. But you do owe it to yourself to learn the relationship between your character visual on your side and what the server thinks. In a perfect world, they would be the one and the same, or very, very, very close, but we're not in that world. And of course, then we'll have, you know, and as for the other thing, of course, people will say, but V-Mimi, what about that one time the guy that was right next to me that was like a hair behind me, they got the jump pad and I didn't? Well, it's the same reason. They were actually ahead of you. You weren't neck and neck. Just like at the beginning of the race, it'll always look, right, that you are in the lead. Fact is, you're not. Everybody's neck and neck at that point. Unless somebody actually, like, doesn't move, you're all neck and neck. You should know that if you're neck and neck, the other person is ahead of you. If you're just a bit ahead, you're actually neck and neck. So the only time to be 100% sure that you're in the lead is to have like a good 2-3 character spaces ahead of the other person. That's when you're definitely in the lead. It's like those car mirrors, right? Objects in mirror are closer than they appear, but it's in both directions. It's in all the directions. And this is just true for every piece of content. I think most, raiders, if they watch other players, if they have the opportunity to watch other players, they will absolutely see other players do things that should not happen. Or you'll have instances like where people do what I call chickening, where they're trying to spread, but they both move left, and one of them thinks they moved first, but they in fact basically moved at the same time. Situations like that, those are totally, unfortunately, normal things to happen. So nobody was cheating in that situation. When it comes to the person getting the jump pad where you thought you were ahead of them, that was literally just they pathed better. They routed the pattern better than you by a tiny bit. And yes, losses like that suck because you think if they just are smidgen off, I'll pull ahead. Yes, it sucks. But nobody was cheating. Nobody was hacking. They just played better than you. You lost because they played better than you by just a hair. And back to the hacker thing. I know everybody's been talking about, the hackers. Why are they hacking why are people trying to cheat? And why are people going so sweaty on Fall Guys? On the Fall Guys collab, it's supposed to be casual. Have some of you guys looked at actual Fall Guys? Reminder that Fall Guys is a game that within weeks of release they originally had a hacker queue. They put all of the hackers in their own little box, and the idea was that they would be in eternal queue purgatory. They would never load a lobby. The thing was, there were so many hackers early on in the game's life that those hacker queues filled pretty constantly, pretty regularly, that they actually had to abolish the hacker queue. Yeah, like, this game, Fall Guys itself, had hackers and griefers out the wazoo. It's insane. So to see people that were, like, surprised that people would try to cheat or hack at Fall Guys definitely caught me, like, made me a little bit confused. Like, of course. Fall Guys is known for its hackers, unfortunately. But the thing is, people assuming that the reason they lose or that the reason they can't win is because of hackers, cheaters, and for some reason, tryhards, whitey people, says more to me about them than it does any of the other players. The vast majority of players learned how to do these courses. They learned the patterns. Just like in actual Fall Guys, they learned the patterns. They learned the variables. They learned how to route and path and get the smoothest run they can. And that's how you have to play Fall Guys. You have to aim for the smoothest route and path that you can. It is pure mechanical execution. And people figured these out within a day. There was a video giving a tutorial of the final mountain within the first day. There was that one Japanese diagram within the first, 2-3 days? I think they posted it a little later. There are definitely ways to learn these patterns, and people learned them. People that, obviously, at the very beginning, people that are able to kind of feel and I don't want to say naturally, because it's not natural. It's not a natural skill. It's a skill, right? The people that could quickly grasp the patterns, variables, and pathing that they have to do were easily going to start winning quickly. But eventually, strategies will come about and people will share them. So of course, as people learn more about the variations and the way the system works, more players are going to get good. People are just getting better at Fall Guys. Just like in actual Fall Guys, people are getting good. People are able to do these courses smoother and smoother and smoother, so you have to play better right now. The person that won is not a hacker. The person that won is not a cheater. The person that won is probably not using plug-ons. They're probably just good at Fall Guys. Well, 14 Fall Guys. It's just like learning any other fight in this game. It's just like learning any other piece of content in this game involving AoEs. Learning the pattern and learning the way to best move and maneuver through it. So, no, you didn't lose because of a cheater. You're not losing because someone's using plugins. You're not losing because someone is too sweaty. They just learned the course. They just learned how to do this situation. They just learned how to do this pattern. And if you want to win, you're probably going to have to do similarly. You're going to at least have to work on strategies, either look at other people's strategies or make your own. Figure out the best way for you to play and you can get more wins. There are other things that you can do, like trying to play an off-peak, trying to queue in non-English languages if you're on North America, trying to queue and, leave and join lobbies to try to get smaller lobbies. You can actually absolutely make it easier for yourself in some manners. Though I will say that if you do these strategies to try to make the lobby smaller, you're probably going to end up having to be better in those lobbies. Because the people that are also doing that have learned what they need to do. So yeah, if you want to make this event, if you want to get that Queen Bean title like I do, I'm still going for it. I'm not going crazy. It's not, okay. People who got it on day one, maybe a little crazy. But I'm going at it at my pace, at a pace that I feel comfortable with. And if you want that title, I encourage you to try it. But you're gonna have to do these things. You're gonna have to learn your relationship between your visual and the server. You're gonna have to learn the patterns that are in these courses. And you're gonna have to remember, you're probably gonna lose a lot too. Especially if you're still grasping those things, those mechanics of the game. And that's okay. Not every game is one you're gonna win. Not every game is gonna go perfectly smooth. And that's okay. Fall Guys is Fall Guys. And it's very dumb. Anyway, that's been my opinion, as they say. Thank you for listening. If you like my takes, I stream every Saturday to Wednesday, EST, between about 6 or 7 p.m. start time to around 12 to 1 a.m. EST. I do high-end raid content on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I do art streams on Monday, where I draw things like this. And Saturday and Sunday are going to be mostly Final Fantasy XIV as well, but miscellaneous things. I've been V-Mimi. I am V-Mimi. And Oyasumimi, or whatever time it is for you. Bye-bye! Thanks for watching!